Hey y'all, hi. Today I'm going to be applying my 5-minute face. So this is the makeup that I do when I only have 5 or maybe 10 minutes and I want to brighten up my complexion and make myself look a little bit more polished. It just uses 7 or 8 products and I do this all the time, especially when I'm not going to be filming. In this video though, I'm not going to fast forward through or cut any of the makeup application footage. I'm going to be doing it in real time so that you can really see exactly what I do. Now, it might take me a little bit longer than the advertised 5 minutes in this video. It always takes longer when I'm doing things for the camera, especially if I'm talking through them. But this is a look that I can do in 5 minutes when I'm just speeding through it myself. And of course, sometimes I stretch it out if I spend a little bit more time on one or another aspect of it. But it's definitely something that you will be able to tailor to the short amount of time you have if that's one of your constraints when you're getting ready in the morning. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Hannah and I really love beautiful things. I like makeup quite a lot, but I lean into the quality over quantity principle when it comes to makeup. I don't want to own too much. I don't want to spend too much on it. And I want to really love and use everything that I have. So if that sounds good to you and you're not subscribed, I hope that you will subscribe to my channel. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. I'm starting with skincare already on. Skincare isn't included in the 5 minutes, but I am including primer in the 5 minutes. Today I'm using the VDL LumiLayer Primer. This is a luminous priming product. It's advertised as a primer, but I don't always use something that's advertised as a primer for this step. Sometimes I just use a liquid illuminator. I spread it all over my skin in a thin layer, and I make sure that it's evenly applied and it's set. I like products that I can kind of rub into my skin like a lotion. And the really important thing when choosing something for this step is to make sure that it's not going to disagree with your skincare. So if you use oils or something, you want to make sure that you're not using an illuminator or a primer that's going to kind of set into a layer and then pill on top of the oils of your skincare. But that's it. It doesn't take very long. And one of the reasons that I like to use something luminous for that step is that it makes it so that I can skip a step later on if I want to. I can skip highlighting and still have a glowy face, as long as I don't cover that glow up with concealer, and as long as I make sure that I blend the blush into my cheeks and sheer it out enough, that luminous product will shine through. So I have both primed my entire face for makeup and added luminosity to the parts of my face that I want to be luminous, all in one step. I usually do my brows next. I'm just gonna do things in the order in which I do them. Lately, I've been putting a tiny bit of powder into my brows before I add pomade. And this helps to soak up any skincare that might be lingering in my brows or the skin behind my brow hairs, or if I've gotten any of that luminous primer into my brows. That powder helps to soak it up and make it so that the pomade has an easier time doing its job, getting my brows to set in place. I'm using the Refi Brow Sculpt. I really like this product, and this is what I do. I work it into the hairs of one brow. I usually kind of work quickly with this because it sets pretty quickly. And then I work it into the hairs of the other brow by back combing. So I'm like messing them up and getting every hair coated in the product. Then I go back to the first brow and kind of put them back in the direction that I want them to go. And once they're that way, I go back to the other brow and put those hairs in the direction that I want them to go. And then I start kind of going back and forth, and you know, the wand is like continuing to deposit additional product. So I'm trying to spread it through, make them pretty even, and get the shape that I want. That's pretty much the shape that I want. And these days also I've been going in just quickly with a little bit of this, the Glossier Brow Flick, and adding a little bit of darkness to like the middle parts of my brows, just kind of like filling them in a little bit more. I find that it's easy to go overboard quickly with this kind of thing. I'll lean in so you can see what I'm doing. I just add it in the parts of my brow where it's like I know that my brows can take it. I feel like if I come in too close to my nose, it starts looking kind of like drawn on and thick. So I kind of keep it to the middle and then to the tail. So you can see the difference there. I've put it on this eye, but not on this eye. It's pretty subtle. It's just like darkened it a little bit and made it look more filled in. It made it so you can't see patches from a distance. If there's any part of this process that's going to make the whole thing exceed 5 minutes or even exceed 10 minutes, this is it. I can get really carried away with this part of it, and I'm trying not to do that today. But you know, you can see I kind of extended the tail of the brow a little bit on both sides, defined it a little bit from underneath, but it still looks really natural, especially because I didn't block out a shape in the front right here. And so it does look more faint. My brows look more faint in here, and then they get darker as they go out, but that's okay with me. I feel like sometimes people get really deep into the brow part of this process because they're trying to make a clean, like draw on a clean shape in the inner part of the brow. I kind of like this look where there are just sparse hairs, natural looking hairs fluffing up in the center, and then it gets more defined and darker as it goes to the outside. And it's also a time saver because I'm much less likely to end up with something asymmetrical or uneven and then have to keep going back and forth or have to wipe it off and start over, which is the thing that would really compromise the speed of this process. So then I'll often do what I'm doing, go in at the end and sort of reshape, move a couple of hairs around if I need to, make sure that everything is in the place that I like it to be. And I feel like I just need a little bit more of a tail right on this side. Okay, moving on to what I think is my favorite part these days of the 5-minute face, because I'm so into this concealer. I really like that it's super pigmented and a little goes a very long way. So I can shear it out very, very thin so that the consistency of it is very thin on my face, but the coverage is very good. It works for me particularly well because the shade match is particularly good for me. So I put a little bit on the back of my hand and go in with a brush. I'm a big fan of this Erin's Faces concealer brush. I find it very, very useful. So usually start here under the eyes and just eliminate that redness that's there. And again, I'm trying to put on a really thin layer because I don't like to look too made up, especially in the everyday. So I'm shearing it out, making sure that it's just like a veil over the skin. And I'm coming up like onto the sides of my nose a little bit, but I'm not too worried about the bridge or the tip of my nose because that's an area where I often end up going in with some kind of blush just to make my whole face look healthier. And I don't want to cover something up with concealer that I'm then later going to add color to. I feel like if I'm going to add color to it, I might as well just leave it bare right now. So I've covered up those bits of redness like in my under eye area. Then I go to the chin. Thin layers, again, if the first layer isn't enough, I can always go back and add, but it's hard to take it away once you've added it. I usually don't come up around my upper lip or around the edges of my nose until the brush is almost empty of product. Like I'll put a heavy load of product right on my chin and start blending it out. And then once the brush is almost finished with that, I'll come up here, because the upper lip and around the nose, that's an area where it's not a good idea to have too much product. It can get really cakey really fast, especially over the course of the day. If I'm sweating or something, sweat tends to gather there. Oh goodness, sorry, we went out of focus for a second. So I'm most cautious about adding product to the parts of my face that I know tend to kind of like fight with product over the course of the day. Just one layer, pretty good coverage there. And I don't mind these, I don't know how well you'll be able to see them, but you know, my skin's a bit pockmarked here on the side. I have a little bit of scarring there. I don't mind that. I'm just putting like a veil of product to even it out, get just like an overall more even toned and brighter version of my face. Sometimes at this stage, if I feel like my forehead looks conspicuously different in color from the rest of my face, I'll put a little bit of product up here, but I don't always do that, especially if my bangs are particularly curly today because I just washed my hair this morning. So everything is all at its most textured. And so they're shorter than usual, but sometimes they cover my entire forehead. And when they do, I just don't worry about it. Okay, if I were gonna do more, then I would maybe fuss with it. I might go in with the other side of the concealer brush and spot conceal a little bit, but this is 5 Minute Face, so I'm not gonna do more. I'm not gonna worry about it. Next step is cheeks, and I'm going to use the CanMake Cream Cheek today. This is like a really great cream blush. Again, when I'm doing the most, I will sometimes layer a blush with a bronzer or a blush with a highlighter, or mix a blush with a highlighter. But because this is 5 Minute Face, I'm depending on the glow that I still have there on my cheeks from that primer to mix with this product and give me kind of like a semi-satin glowy cheek. Starting with just a little bit, and I always put it on the outside of my face. So if you imagine like a line coming straight down from the outer corner of the eye, I'm always placing the blush outside of that line, not inside. Some of it's gonna travel in as I'm blending, but I want the center of the blend to be out there. It provides a lifting effect to have it blend up and back from there. And again, going in layers, so not too much at once. You can always add more, but it's hard to scale back once you've gone overboard. It's not impossible though with blush. If I go overboard with blush, what I do is I just take the brush that I used for concealer and blend over it. I like a lot of blush though. Look how glossy that looks. This isn't a glossy product. That gloss is all from what's underneath it. These days I've been powdering a little bit, even my 5-minute face, but I always wait until after I've applied blush to powder. If I'm putting on a cream blush, I definitely want to wait until I've put on the cream blush so that I'm not accidentally putting cream on over powder if the powder sneaks up onto my cheeks. But even if I'm using a powder blush, I'll often wait because setting powder is another way that you can kind of like tone down the blush if you've gone overboard. I don't feel like I went overboard today though, so I'm just powdering my marionette lines around here, around my nose, because again, that's a part of the face that tends to kind of take a hit. The makeup around the nose tends to kind of take a hit over the course of the day. I usually pop a little powder between my brows and a little bit under my eyes right here. I'm always tapping the brush off too. And then I usually just powder over these parts on the sides of my cheeks that have more scarring because I just want to reinforce the concealer there. There. This is the Givenchy Prism Libre Loose Powder. I've become really fond of this powder over the last several months. I have it in the shade Mousseline Pastel. It has like a pale green, a pale purple, a pale blue, and a pale white, and the mix of these colors together is really great for my complexion, but this does come in a variety of shades. The final step for me these days is the lip, and I do end up reaching for a tinted lip balm or a beautiful gloss on many days, but when I feel like color, or I feel like a strong lip or a red lip or something bold, then I reach for that, because even though I'm not wearing any eye makeup, I feel like with this strong, defined brow, very intentionally clean skin, and glossy and sometimes quite bright or quite strong cheek, I feel like it can hold its own against a bold lip. It doesn't look unbalanced. That has been my experience. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to apply the Revlon Super Lustrous lipstick in the shade Rum Raisin, one of my favorite drugstore lipsticks. In the interest of time, I often end up just kind of slathering it on, getting a layer on there, and then I go in with a brush. And you might think that going in with a brush is kind of like a fussy thing that you would only do when you have a lot of time to perfect your lip look. But I actually find that it saves time because it softens the edge and it makes me feel less like I need to fuss with the shape of the lip. This is the most stressful thing to do in real time because I know that I can't talk. I can't really talk while I'm doing it. So I'm sitting here doing it, worrying that it's getting boring. So I've used the brush to bring the lip color up over the vermilion border, both on my upper lip and my lower lip, and to sort of soften and buff it out so that it looks more faded, more sort of stain-like around the edges. I feel like I just went a little bit overboard, especially on my top lip. And when that happens, sometimes I go back in with my concealer brush and clean it up a little bit. But I try not to get too invested in fussing with it. And I also find that a little bit of blotting can go a long way. And I also find that a lip that looks a little bit shocking or a little bit like too much when it's first applied, if you just give it a couple minutes and then look in the mirror again, you'll realize that it actually looks great. I am actually gonna go in with a tiny bit of concealer on my upper lip. I do feel like it just looks a little bit like I was eating a popsicle, but not in the cute way. This to me is a finished look. I've really been enjoying wearing my natural bare eyes lately, serving Tilda Swinton realness on a daily basis over here. But if you absolutely cannot bear bare eyes, it's but the work of a moment to throw on a little bit of mascara, maybe adding 1 more minute to your 5-minute makeup look. And with mascara, if I were to add mascara, it would be essentially the same look. It would define my eyes a little bit, and I know that it's a bit out of the box actually to be wearing this much face makeup and not wearing eye makeup. So a more wearable or maybe more comfortable for you version of this might be to add a little bit of mascara. But I'm not going to apply mascara today because I haven't been doing it. This has been my 5-minute face. And it's particularly good if you wear glasses, you know, like it works particularly well if you're going to be wearing sunglasses or if you wear glasses. It's like you could put on just mascara, of course, for that as well, but I really like it. I really like it with nothing on the eyes and some kind of clear glasses. And of course, if you're wearing like reflective or opaque glasses, then no one can see your eyes. And that's it. I used 7 products: the primer, the brow gel, and the little brow marker, the concealer, the powder, the blush, and the lipstick. And I'll link all of them down below, of course. And I used 4 tools, 4 different brushes. I will link all of them below too. And again, I know that this took me longer than 5 minutes, and I'm sure that the video is going to be much longer than 5 minutes, but I can do this look in roughly 5 minutes, maybe stretching to 10 minutes if I spend a little longer on my brows. Like if I'm more meticulous, my brows are what can cause it to take a really long time. Or if I decide not to fill in my brows, but just to set them with a little bit of gel, then that part goes really quickly, and then the entire look goes really, really quickly. And it will go even more quickly if I use a lip gloss or a tinted lip balm or something on my lips. That's how I make it the absolute shortest. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it was useful to you. If you'd like to see another version of this where I show you the quick makeup look that I do if I actually want to enhance my eyes, like if I'm choosing eyes instead of lips, basically. If you'd like to see like the eyes-centric version of this, then definitely let me know in the comments down below. Again, if you aren't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do that. But most importantly, don't forget to take extra good care of yourself today so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.